Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Gutfeld, along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Bob Beckel, Eric Bowling, and she looks up to Smurfs. It's Dana Perino. This is The Five. Adding the Eric Garner tragedy to other recent incidents is an understandable thing to do, but it's off. The factors leading to his death are different. Still, for many people, this decision was a shocker. It doesn't make sense. We saw the video. But if you look closer, it's really not about cops versus blacks, but government versus citizens. The nanny state crushing the individual. The grand jury might have screwed up. The tape paints a grim picture, but who knows? But the cop wouldn't have approached Garner if the law didn't make him. I don't believe for a moment that any man, even a cop, wants to wrestle a 350-pound man over a single damn cigarette. But let's face it, most of what cops must do, they'd rather avoid. Policing is a series of tough spots requiring sensitive and constant assessment. So why make it worse with idiotic, stupid laws? I get it. Store owners complain about people selling single smokes. And the black market in cigarettes is huge because of the crazy taxes. It's an old story. I used to buy Lucy's when I was young and broke. But the only way to gain justice from this mess is to cling to the truth. Tying this to centuries of racism as a way to indict society may work for some, but for people who truly care about the city and not their own rising status, remember this one fact. You can buy one beer, but not one smoke. Garner provided for those who didn't have the $15 a pack of 20 required. Unnecessary laws have consequences, and in this case, that consequence was death. So somebody agrees with me, and that is Rand Paul, always a smart fellow in my book. Here is him discussing the cigarette taxes.
Some politician put a tax of $5.85 on a pack of cigarettes, so they've driven cigarettes underground by making them so expensive. But then some politician also had to direct the police to say, hey, we want you arresting people for selling a loose cigarette. And for someone to die over, breaking that law, there really is no excuse for it. But I do blame the politicians. We put our police in a difficult situation with bad laws.
So, Dana, obviously, this isn't just a story about taxes. The video, the grand jury, there's a lot of elements here. But taxes initiated the process that ended in death. And if we love to talk about root causes in the media, isn't that a root cause?
Well, the government's, I've never understood, well, I guess I understand that the government is a lot of contradictions. One of them is that the goal of taxing cigarettes more is so that people will buy less cigarettes.
Right.
Or fewer cigarettes. What happens, though, is that people still like to buy cigarettes, and then the government gets hooked on the money that is provided. So you said it's $5 to $6 a pack goes to the city and the state and the federal. And what is one of the answers every single time when you want to raise taxes in D.C.? It's twofold. They want to raise taxes in order to pay for other things, raise taxes on cigarettes or on alcohol. In this case, I think that you're seeing that self-fulfilling prophecy, which is we want people to smoke less, but we actually want them to smoke more so that we can get more money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not really crying.
I know you. I saw you tearing up.
I'm not crying. No, I'm not crying. I have an issue.
Eric, Rand Paul is basically saying focus on the root cause. But if that root cause isn't racial discord, that eliminates a lot of the justifiable anger of other activists. So they might resist this idea. Does that make sense?
I'm trying to follow this logic.
Yes, I got you. I totally understood that.
No, if you say it's about big government, but you have activists demanding more government, it actually hurts their cause.
Activists demanding more government. Look, it's getting way too confusing for me. I think you and Rand are right that unnecessary laws and overburdensome laws put cops in situations where they have to take down an Eric Garner. Now, Garner resisted arrest. He died for it. He never should have died for that. You don't die for selling a Lucy cigarette. But the root cause here is the law. The root cause is that the cops are forced to stop Eric Garner from selling a loose cigarette so that they can protect their tax revenues. And that's really what it's all about. In New York, they had a push to crack down on illegal cigarette sales.
That's not an argument. Do you really believe that? You have to actually respond.
Let me give you an argument. First of all, Rand Paul's saying they're deflecting this thing off on taxes. The federal government, body he represents, taxes cigarettes. So does the state of New York. So does the city of New York. I have not heard that there has been a SWAT team running around electing people, trying to arrest people selling loosies.
Well,
Why there were 5 police there to arrest a guy, I don't know.
You do know there is a task force to crack down on illegal cigarette sales.
Used to send them to bars to stop smoking.
I think those task forces are the ones for. They're like they used to be when you brought liquor in. They brought cartons in.
But, Bob, do you really think they wouldn't have stopped him if he was selling cigarettes? If it was a 350-pound white man, he'd get stopped.
I think it's just a silly argument, and it deflects off the point. Listen, he also said, I want Rand Paul to tell us when he said politicians ordered these police to do this. What politicians?
He means, Bob. I think when I heard what you said in the green room. What he's talking about is when politicians that are elected enact laws. It was writ large. It was overarching. He wasn't suggesting that there was a single politician that could be pointed out that said, "Go and arrest Eric Garner."
Okay, well, that could be said about anything being sold out on the street that's taxed, where you can sell it for less, right? I mean, you can sell cell phones for less, and all that stuff.
Can I just in the research? In March, Governor Cuomo announced the formation of the Cigarette Strike Force to crack down. Governor Cuomo, politician, strike force, cops, told.
I got that. You don't waste your time. Just
okay,
but you asked for facts.
Illegal tobacco trafficking.
He doesn't like
there it is. Exactly what Rand Paul said.
And my guess is that they're probably focusing on taking shipments of cigarettes, not single cigarettes off the street.
I'm not sure that that's accurate.
These are parts, I guess, of what you call nuisance crimes. Perhaps there are store owners that are saying, I don't want this person out in front. It scares the customers. And so that might happen. As this story unfolds, from what I learned, Mr. Garner was out there. The cops knew him because he'd been arrested a number of times for similar things, and he was trying to break up a fight, but the cops noticed he was selling cigarettes.
I will agree with one thing. I do not think this was racial undertones here.
So you agree with me,
but I believe that this cop killed this kid.
Well,
absolutely killed him.
But no one is disputing that. That is, the police officer even apologized for the death. We know that the officer was the proximate cause. The point is, did the officer have the right, along with the other officers, to go up and approach and detain or question or take it? Whoa. Bob,
the police rules say you can't use chokeholds.
No, you're not listening.
Okay,
Did they have the right to go up and question and approach him because they saw him committing a crime? The crime was he's selling these cigarettes illegally, etc. I'm not saying it's the worst crime. It's not. However, it's on the books. They can't just decide amongst themselves what they want to prosecute, what they want to go and stop somebody for. They're assigned. There's a task force, a strike force, so they go up and they approach him. You're not supposed to resist. Is it horrible that he did? Absolutely. Is there a question because of the chokehold and whether this was excessive force? Yes. Did they put this to the grand jury like they should have? Yes. And for some reason, the grand jury came down with the decision they did.
That's the big question,
and we don't have all the facts.
And the judge limited what they would release, right, for the grand jury? Yeah. And I have my blame here is on the grand jury and the prosecutor out there because this guy should be in jail right now.
All right, well, let's go to the next sound on tape because I want to ask you, Kimberly, about Eric Holder announcing the new investigation, and we also have J. Christian Adams criticizing Holder's decision together.
Okay.
I'm here to announce that the Justice Department will proceed with a federal civil rights investigation into Mr. Garner's death. Mr. Garner's death is one of several recent incidents across our great country that have tested the sense of trust that must exist between law enforcement and the communities they are charged to serve and to protect.
Something bigger going on here. These are attempts to delegitimize the system of justice in this country, in America, by invoking this history that is way in the rearview mirror. These are folks who want to always blame law and order, the police. They're always on the side of the lawless. It's a bigger battle than just what happened in Ferguson. It's an effort to delegitimize the American system of justice.
All right, KG, Eric Holder announces an investigation. Does that change the implication of the case so it's almost all about race? Because that's the only way you could do this. It's about a civil right violation.
But him calling for an investigation every time he thinks it's politically expedient is nothing new. It's like B follows A in the alphabet. It's just going to happen every time. Now, I do agree with the larger issue, which is that this is, I think, a concerted effort to delegitimize the American justice system. Nothing is good enough. No amount of hours or witnesses in front of a grand jury. Everything is assumed from a premise of injustice, of racism, of animus and distrust with the police department. Well, you never know how bad you respect or need a police officer till a loved one or yourself is in a position to be harmed and you call the cops, and boy, are you appreciative, because Are any of us doing the job that they're doing?
Yeah, and they don't.
Anybody else want to do that job?
It's not like police are saying, "Hey, I want to get up this morning and go out and start harassing a black male for selling cigarettes, get him in a chokehold, and tackle him."
Can you tell me who this Yahoo was who was talking on
J.
there?
Christian Adams?
Yeah, who is he?
He was
He's a lawyer. He's a lawyer from the Justice Department.
DOJ.
DOJ.
Yeah. Oh, in the current?
No, not anymore. He was, though. Can I just clarify something? I think
whoever Bob
as right as Ferguson did get it, I think New York got it that wrong. I'm on the same side that I think that there should have been at least an indictment for a lesser charge in here. I just want to make that clear. I'm not saying that I think everything worked out right in New York, Bobby.
So we should just walk away from it and say the grand jury did their job and that's it?
Well, no, okay, here's the thing.
The police are also
system. Here's the thing.
There's a lot of parallel
There was a big decision about 15, I don't know, O.J. Simpson, how long ago, where I think there was a miscarriage of justice. But you know what? It was the system. It was a jury of his peers. He was acquitted of murdering his wife. You live with it. It's not perfect.
And then he was convicted. There was a civil
system
case against
probably
him.
in the world.
And he was found responsible. And J. Christian Adams was in the Civil Rights Division, so he was overseeing these exact kind of cases in the Department of Justice. Oh, so I guess he has a little bit of
well, wait a minute. But to say that to ask for an investigation undermines the American judicial system, why not have an investigation? What's wrong with that?
No, what he's saying is this is more of an overall theme, that every time something comes back with a decision or verdict, et cetera, a finding that they disagree with, oh, it must be invalid, the system must be bad, and we should throw it out. He's saying, listen, this is a good system of justice. There are going to be outcomes that people disagree with, but that is our American justice system, and it's better than any other in the world where they just take you out back and shoot you or hang you or behead you.
I'm not sure every decision that they do that on, but that's...
Danny, do you want to comment on this? Or I was going to ask you about how you see the media handling this case. Will they learn from previous mistakes that we've seen in coverage that has led to chaos by chasing the wrong facts and then finding out things didn't happen? Do you think this will be different?
It seems to be. And I was just looking at the front pages. And there's a lot of the people that were at Grand Central last night that were doing the lie-in. They're very young people. Most of them are white. And I'm not against it. I think if they want to protest peacefully, they're disrupting, and yes, it's inconvenient for people that are trying to commute. But I don't know if it will continue, but I feel like this has been fairly responsible. I do wonder about the grand jury, though. I mean, I can understand saying that one person made a mistake, but do 12 people make a mistake altogether, or however many voted?
23, and they needed 12 to vote to indict.
Well, Bob, I mean,
oh, here we go again.
On the political level, answer when you were asking about taxes, the way to really deal with that is to be bold as a nation and go to a national sales tax that is flat and across the board, so that you capture the underground economy or whatever you call it.
And also, if you could buy a single beer and put it in a bag.
Is that true? You can buy one beer?
I do it.
Well, no.
I put it in a bag.
I guess you do it. Do you do it legally? Is my question.
You know, in Wyoming, you can drive up to liquor stores and get drinks.
Yeah, but the point is that the reason you can't buy a cigarette at Lucy's is because they're buying them from, say, an Indian reservation. They're not taxed there, so they bring them onto the street of New York, so it avoids tax. But a beer,
you can go in and you can look. The alcohol people have better lobbyists than the tobacco people.
Could be. That's 100%.
Are you just discovering that you can buy a single can of beer?
KG, I knew I could buy a single can of beer. I also knew I could buy a single cigarette if I smoked. I could probably buy a single joint of weed if I wanted to, too. I'm baffled that it's illegal to do it if it's a cigarette, tobacco, but it's not illegal to do it if it's alcohol.
You can buy a single bottle of vodka, too.
Hey, Bob, I got a question for you before we go. How do you subdue a suspect without potentially harming them who is in poor health? What would you do? Because you have health problems.
Yeah.
How would I subdue you without?
It wouldn't take much, believe me. But I think the fact that they have 5 police officers and nobody's got a taser, I mean, they have to resort.
Oh my gosh! And with some kind, what if he had a pre-existing cardiac condition? He tasered him and he died.
The police department allow you to lose tasers. They do not allow you to do chokeholds.
Now you want to taser him?
He's dead. I mean, he was a better shot at that. Anyway.
It was his heart that gave out, right? Not his. He wasn't.
I have no idea. Nobody, because this grand jury is being held in this DA out there is a.
Can we at least do one thing? Can we at least say this wasn't about race?
It's not the DA's decision. These are the rules in New York. It has to be secret. And the DA actually wanted to be transparent and made a motion and petitioned the court to release it. And the judge made a limited ruling. Comprendo?
I just want to see Dana. I want to see Dana's reaction whenever I call people punks like that. Sure.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't believe it.
Shoo, Bob. What?
Why would you do that?
Because I just do.
All right, kids. Is the White House helping or hurting in this uneasy climate? Next on the 5.